How's it going, guys? TJ at TechParadise here. So today Google held their annual I/O conference, and there was a ton of stuff discussed, but I just wanted to go ahead and give you guys some of the key highlights that stood out to me. So let's jump right into it. Starting with two new apps from Google. Google Alow and Google Duo. Now, Google Alow is a new messaging app that's kind of similar to iMessage, but a little bit different at the same time, primarily because Google Alow will be a mobile-only texting service which you can either connect to your Google account or actually choose not to because it'll be tied to your phone number. Now, this service will be available to both Android and iPhone users, which is really nice, and is also going to be encrypted, which is really cool. So, really good privacy there from end to end. On both ends, you can just make sure that if you don't want your messages being somehow leaked, or basically you want alternate privacy, you can have that with end-to-end encryption, which is really cool. It is mobile only, meaning that it won't be on Mac, or it won't be on desktop operating systems, but mobile only. So that's something to keep in mind. Now that will be released this summer alongside the second app. This is Google Duo, which is also pretty cool. This is a new video chat app, which is supposedly going to be dead simple, incredibly simple. And some of the cool things about Duo is that there's going to be a feature called Knock Knock, which will actually show the caller a live video stream of who's calling them before they even answer the call. Now that's pretty neat. But on top of that, it's going to be, again, on both iPhone and Android, and again, mobile only. So at least for the time being, once they're released, it'll be a mobile only service, which again will be tied to your phone number. Now, the cool thing about these two apps is that I do believe that they serve as what I hope will be the future of messaging and video chat going forward with Google. Currently they have Google Hangouts, which is great in its own way, but I think it still could use some simplifying. And I think that Google Duo, especially compared to Google Hangouts video, will be a much better option. Now, moving on to Google Home. Now, Google Home was announced today, and it's basically the competitor to Amazon Echo. Now, there is some key differences, though. For one, the physical design difference. It's not the same design remotely as Amazon Echo. The design of Google Home is it's still a cylinder in a sense, a little bit less tall, I believe, and the base is a little bit rounder, and it's also the speakers on the bottom of it as well. You can change out the design with different colors to match your home decor, but the key functionality is based on the foundation of Google Assistant. Which reminds me, I have to mention too, is also another cool thing about Google Alow, the messaging service I just talked about. Google Assistant will be integrated into that as well, which is pretty neat. So going back to Google Home though, Google Assistant will be the foundation of that, and it'll be able to integrate with certain things at the start. Not as many as Amazon Echo right now, but that will change as time goes on. But again, the cool thing about Google Home is that it integrates with other services on Google, and this is something that I actually don't think people talk about nearly enough. This is kind of not about Google Home, but just about Google Assistant really, is that Google had they were doing the voice assistant thing for a long time now, but the issue has been that they haven't been good at branding it. So my hope is that they'll eventually give their voice assistant a name, a good brand, so something like Amazon obviously has Alexa, and of course Siri for iOS. But Google hasn't done so yet. But I hope they do so relatively soon, because I think they can really use that. But I'm kind of getting I'm jumping from subject to subject. That's okay. But that was my point about Google Assistant. But going back to Google Home, so that looks pretty cool. Still no word yet on price, I don't think, unless I missed it in the tech news. I didn't see that price yet. But it'll be, excuse me, it'll be released sometime in this summer. Now, the other thing that Google talked about today was Android N. And there was, again, a slew of new changes. I'll just talk about certain things. I recall there's a new picture in picture mode coming to Android. It's going to be faster. Google is promising, I believe, oh yes, you can now change the size of notifications that come onto your screen from different apps. You can customize those notification sizes, which I think is pretty cool. That could be useful. And there's a ton of other things. There's a new gaming API called Vulkan, which will supposedly give developers direct access to the phone's GPU, so that could actually be pretty cool as well. Other than that, there's so much to talk about that I can't possibly cover all in one video, but that's kind of the highlight of Android. And another big thing, Android Layer 2.0. Now, on the surface, it doesn't seem like Android Layer 2.0 is dramatically different from the original version 1, but there is some key changes that users will definitely enjoy. The first one being that you can now add data from any app to any watch face, which is something you can already do on Apple Watch using what they call complications, but now you can finally do that coming up in Android Layer 2.0, which is really nice. But keep in mind, the other thing about this is that some of these features that we're talking about in Android Layer and Android N will be dependent on new devices coming out later this year. Although I do believe that most current Android Layer launchers will get the 2.0 update. But again, certain features may not be available to all users, which I think is just, it's pretty common these days that they do that. But moving on, just kind of as a conclusion, I think that Google made a lot of cool announcements today that will be things that people actually use every day. And that's something where I'm happy to see that it's not just a bunch of new bells and whistles and features that they are adding to their current platform, but things that you may not really use as much. Google Home, I know not everyone is really into the I guess you can call it the smart home trend yet. I personally am not. I haven't invested much in that kind of technology or software yet, but I may do so down the road if I feel necessary. Google Home may actually be the first product that catches my eye and actually compels me to buy it once it comes out later this year. But the other thing I wanted to say too is that I think moving ahead, I hope that Google will begin to consolidate some of their services. One thing in particular is I've noticed using a Galaxy S7 and using my iPad, it's obviously are two very different platforms. I have to use Verizon Messages, which is a messaging service. If you have Verizon, you can use it. And it's great because it kind of replaces iMessage, but it's not the same. It's not the same as iMessage. And Apple has really just done such a stellar job at integrating messaging and video calling into their platform across all their devices. So my hope is that going ahead, we start to see that deeper level of integration with Android. Um, and while I don't think you can say that the new Google Alow and Duo apps coming out this fall, this summer, which again are the next generation, if you will, texting and video calling apps. I don't know if they will actually move us closer to that idea that I just discussed, but I think that at least it presents another option that we didn't have before. I'm not a huge fan of Google Hangouts, especially on mobile. I don't know. I can't get into it. I don't like I don't like the interface. I still think FaceTime on iOS and obviously iMessage are just better. And I don't know if Google will ever match Apple's integration level in that sense, but at the same time, it still is worth noting that that Google is heading in the right direction, essentially. So with that being said, though, I think that was a really good keynote today from Google, and I saw some people that had different thoughts and different feelings either way, but I thought it was actually pretty great, and I can't wait to see what these new apps bring us and these new services. And actually, like I said earlier, pretty excited about Google Home too. So with that being said, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in my next video. And please, if you like my content, please go ahead and subscribe to TechParadise by clicking that subscribe button below. Until next time, thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you guys really soon.